of our panelists. I really appreciate you being here today. I'm going to focus my question on later, if time permits, discuss the role of the U.S. dollar in the world, its current position as the world's reserve currency, how that might be threatened, and the implications thereof. Before I get into that, though, I'd like your thoughts on what I typically discuss in southern Indiana as I mix with my constituents and try and inform them on this issue, get their thoughts and concerns. And one of the things that I try and do is bring it down to the human level, individual persons and businesses and families. And I thought you might be able to add some additional texture to that overall portrait. What will things look like if the doomsday scenario, if the debt crisis does in fact play out? If the United States suffers from a Greece or Japan-like situation where either they have to go through a lost decade themselves or instead there's a sudden response by the markets as a result of a lack of a credible plan to bring down our debt to GDP ratio. Now, some of the things I emphasize are the increase in our interest rates for our Treasury instruments, which redounds to an increase in interest rates for all manner of different loans and credit instruments that will impact individuals that I serve, an increase in taxes, perhaps an immediate increase required to calm the credit markets. An immediate decrease in spending in a non-deliberative and, frankly, unhumane way. It's unhumane not because our efforts wouldn't be well-intentioned to calm the credit markets. It would be inhumane because we failed to act now when we could put in place a smooth trajectory of a gradual mechanism to get our debt under control, one that would maintain our social insurance programs for the least fortunate. It would also result, in this doomsday scenario, I anticipate, in a decrease in investment, in physical capital, in human capital, all these things that help us enjoy those higher paying jobs that Mr. Ryan was just lamenting are not as abundant as they once were. Could someone speak to that overall private human impact that we might experience?
And less of a leader in liberty than we want to be. And I think those are all very damaging things.
I would say at the very human level, one thing we have to, at some point, start to face is that the past 10 years were not a good indicator of the next 10. Households have negative equity. Many households have negative equity. That's something that has to be dealt with. The households has a debt overhang. Those are issues that were not issues 10 years ago that we have to think about. I would like to think that sort of a gradualist approach to debt reduction is more likely. Historically, it hasn't worked out that way. Let me conclude with a commentary on the dollar. One of the things that's actually helping us be more gradualist than we otherwise could be is that people, notably central banks from all over the world, are willing to hold U.S. Treasury securities. But that is also a dangerous proposition. Without gloom and doom, without throwing, it involves a level of vulnerability that we didn't have 20 years ago.
Congressman, you know, I think you can go too far with this. I think that we're not Greece. The United States is not Greece. We have a pretty darn strong set of fundamentals and basics in this country, including the best workforce in the world, the most liquid capital markets, the most innovation, the highest levels of science and technology. But I think what will happen is we'll get further and further away for many, many people from the American dream, the ability to really make their children's lives better than theirs, to succeed in their own right, and that's what we got to be worried about. That's why we got to take the steps now, I think, to get on a better path.
Thank you.